I hope they're doing very well. Welcome to a new video. I hope the audio quality isn't too weird. I'm recording this at the seaside, so it's not at my usual place, so I hope it doesn't bother you too much. But today we're talking about art goals. I know this is always a very interesting and exciting topic, but since we've gotten past the middle of the year, I thought it would be a good time for a check-in, see how I'm doing on them, and if you'd like, you could share how you're doing, and just, you know, if you had any art goals at the beginning of the years in the comments below, and we could all support each other. Please remind yourself that, you know, this is not a measure of your success in art, and we all set goals at the beginning of the year and then just end up not looking at them. I feel like I'm doing particularly well this year, but honestly, it's the first time in my 20 years of life that I've actually set goals at the beginning of the year and then like checked back in at all. So, you know, that's a bit of an outlier for me, if you will. Honestly, I haven't like broken these down into to-do lists that I have to complete each week or anything like that, but I've kept them at the beginning of my sketchbook, and I like to read through them every once in a while to remind myself about them. So even though I'm not consciously focusing on them, like specifically doing a painting because I want to achieve a certain goal or anything like that, I am keeping them kind of in the back of my mind at all times. So I feel like that's really helped me. I've completed some, I'm still working on others, and a couple, honestly, I've just realized I'm not actually interested in. I don't really know why I put them there in the first place, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it's going this year. So goal number 1 is probably my biggest success, and it is to paint from life more. This was a big goal for me because I tried painting from life last year and it went well, but it's something that I was still really scared about, and it just felt really daunting. And I'd always just been painting from Pinterest references, like basically since I started like 4 or 5 years ago. So switching to painting from life was a very interesting process and very scary in a way, but I definitely did this in a strategies or challenge in January. If you don't know what it is, I've talked about it a lot on my channel, but it is a challenge where you're meant to be painting or drawing something from life every single day throughout the month of January. They also hold it in September, and I'm hoping to be able to do that again. Definitely consider this one a success. I think my biggest challenge with that was figuring out like compositions and trying to find interesting objects to paint. And I think what it taught me is that, you know, it doesn't have to be an interesting composition for it to be an interesting painting. I think a really good example of that would be like if I'm painting something metal, something reflective, I see a lot of colors in the metal, in the reflective surface, and I accentuate them a lot to make the painting more interesting. I consider this a big success. I think my biggest goal with this was not necessarily to just paint from life in the future, and it's definitely not what I want at the minute. I'm more looking forward to learning a new skill, which I think I still need to work on. I've got down a better idea of how to approach this kind of painting, but I've got so much more that I can learn still. But also, and I think this is the main thing, to really stray away from using random internet references. So I consider this one a success, but following up from it for the rest of the year, I really want to try taking more references myself, and at the very least just work with like copyright-free images and not just random Pinterest references. Then goal number 2 was to create artwork to put together a portfolio. This is one of those like gray area ones, in the sense that I don't really know why it's there, or at least I know why it's there, but it's not something I'm really interested in as much as I was at the beginning of the year. I feel like last year I really didn't know what my style was. I wasn't sure what I wanted to paint. And overall, I really felt like my body of art wasn't coherent. So a big goal for this year was to work on that and put together a series of paintings that felt true to me and to my style, and that could present myself as an artist to other people. And I feel like I was mostly looking forward to doing this, kind of looking for validation for myself. But I think that from the strategies or challenge and overall just the pieces that I've worked on this year, I found my foot with painting again, and So one, I don't feel this need to put together a portfolio to validate my art because I already think that it's valid as it is, which I didn't necessarily think before. But also my paintings and my style have just become more coherent on their own. And so in a way, I still think I've achieved this one. Then following up from that, a big reason why I wanted a portfolio as well was to be able to start sending out my work to galleries potentially, and to like participate in an exhibition or something. Honestly, I don't know what this one is at. Like, I have no idea. I think I really made this up to be more of a dream of mine than it actually is. Like thinking about it, one, it's not something I feel ready for yet. And two, I just don't know if I'm actually interested in doing it. But I did do something kind of similar to it earlier last month. I participated in an art market that was really exciting. That was my first time having people see my work in real life and be able to touch it and look at it up close and ask questions about it. And I got to meet some wonderful people, and so that was really exciting and definitely something I would love to do more of. So overall, this is not one that I'm really going to be focusing on specifically for the rest of the year, but it's something I might keep in mind for the next few years, and who knows what will happen as time goes on. I really just don't think I'm ready for it yet. Then goal number 4 was to open my online shop to sell prints and originals of my work. This is a big completed one. I opened up my shop in February. It's one of my biggest achievements of this year. I never thought art would be a viable career for me, and I don't necessarily want it to be. I'm studying something completely different. I would love to go into the scientific research field, but I thought art is a passion for me, but why can I not like sell my art to other people? I'm just accumulating years and years of artwork in my house that I don't even know what to store anymore, and it's just been a really gratifying and satisfying process. It's brought me so much joy to see people have my art in their homes, and it's a very bittersweet process to send off, especially originals, to other people. But it's really cool to think that my art is in other people's homes around the world. So it's just something I'm very happy about. And also I've very recently opened up commissions for oil paintings. So if you were looking to get a custom oil painting from me, that's something I can do now. And also, I still have lots of prints and other original paintings on my shop if you want to check them out. But enough with the self-promo. The next one is another one that I have no idea why it's even there. I apparently thought I wanted to get better at digital drawing at the beginning of the year, and again, I don't know why it's there. It's really not something I'm interested in at the moment. I might be influenced by the fact that I'm looking at my iPad screen pretty much all day, every day to study, but I really have no interest in digital drawing at the minute. I really appreciate the tactile aspect of traditional art and the texture of oil painting. It just gives me life. It's something I have so much fun with. And as much as I love illustration and I follow a lot of illustrators, I just don't think it's a style that feels my own. So this is a goal I'm honestly just scratching out for the rest of the year. I might do some digital sketches. I like to use my iPad for mock-ups and color palettes. I don't even do that much, but I find that it's a very useful tool to have. But overall, it's just not a style that feels my own and that I want to explore more of. Then goal number 6 was to experiment with new mediums and techniques, and most importantly, to remember to have fun with art. I think I was really interested in putting this in because it's been a rough couple of years, I think, of feeling really lost and feeling like I didn't know what I wanted to make and what I wanted to paint and just what my style was. So I wanted to remind myself to keep having fun with it no matter what, even if I wasn't necessarily producing art that I was happy with. I think it's much more important to enjoy the process and to enjoy the finished result. So I'm happy I put that in, and I think, it's been ups and downs from the beginning of the year, as it always is, but overall I definitely think, I don't want to say this is something I've achieved because it's something I want to keep as a constant as time goes on. I don't think it's like a box that you can tick off and then, it's done, you've got it for the rest of your life. But it's definitely been really interesting for me. I've tried to keep things fun. I've tried to do a lot of new things with art this year. As I said, live painting at the beginning of the year. You might have seen I've recently made a video about how I started working with gouache. That's been really, really cool. I've also started painting different subjects from what I'm used to. So both like still lifes and landscapes. When I started making art, I was mainly just doing portraits, and I never thought I'd really be interested in doing anything else. Also, recently I've started doing morning pages in my sketchbook, working with fine liners and doing like really low pressure sketches. That's kind of been my latest way to spice things up. So I'm very happy with what I'm doing for this goal. And I think this is the one that I've kept in mind most, just the have fun with it and keep things interesting part of it. But as I said, it's something that I want to maintain. So I'm doing good on it, but I've got to keep it up. Then goal number 7 is also something else that I want to keep up through time, and that is I wanted to keep sharing my art online, but making sure it was a healthy process and something that wasn't like taking over the passion. Again, I've had ups and downs with it. I feel like I was doing really, really well with it at the beginning of the year. I'm currently having a bit of a hard time with this, mostly because exams have really taken over for the past like month or two, and so I just haven't been making as much art, and I haven't been filming as much, and so it's been harder to obviously share things online. But I felt like I've done a lot to make sure that my relationship with social media in this sense has been good, and I feel like I am at a really good point with it, even though I'm not necessarily like posting as much as I would ideally like to. It's just something I'm trying to not worry about as much, and honestly I'm just really enjoying the process of sharing my art at the moment, so I'm happy with what I'm doing for this. But again, it's something that I have to constantly remind myself, and take breaks from social media sometimes really helps. I just think it's very important to keep in mind that it can be a very toxic environment, and so I've been doing my best to stay away from that and to really just enjoy the best side of it. And then the last goal was to finish this sketchbook and to sketch more in general. I really don't sketch a lot. I've been doing a lot of paintings, but sketching, it's something I used to do a lot when I first started, but I just haven't been doing it as much in later years. And I think the morning pages have definitely helped with that. But I am a bit behind on finishing this sketchbook. I've done a bunch of pages this year. I've done a lot more sketches that I had done in the past few months, so that's been good. Some of those concepts I might eventually develop into paintings. I did a few oil studies in there as well, but I'm kind of behind actually completing it. I am working in 2 sketchbooks at the same time, and I also do a lot of like other paintings that are not in a sketchbook. I just do them mostly on wooden panels or watercolor paper. So overall, I'm really happy with the amount of art that I've made this year, but I would still like to finish this sketchbook. I just think a sketchbook is a really good place to really try out new things and do really low pressure sketches, and so that's kind of why I want to push myself to finish more sketchbooks, because it means that I'm doing a lot more low pressure art, and I feel like that's what then inspires good ideas for big paintings and that kind of thing. I don't know if it makes sense. It made sense in my head. So that's about it for the goals I'd set at the beginning of the year. Moving forward, my main plan is to do the Untitled Challenge in September. Coincidentally, both in January and in September, when they hold the challenge, I'm in full-on exam session. So I managed it last time, but we'll see how it goes this September. I'm curious to see what comes out of it. I think it could be very different, because I've been growing a lot this year artistically, so I'm very interested to see what comes out of that. I also recently went through a lot of old artwork for a video that will be coming out soon, and I realized that there are so many older pieces of mine that I would really like to revisit, so maybe those will be inspiration for the next few paintings as well. Overall, I feel like I just want to keep learning and keep growing as an artist. I spent the past 2 years really struggling to figure out what I wanted to be doing and just feeling really lost and really low, like in terms of art, but I feel really at peace with what I'm making now, and I think I'm in a really good place with it. So I'm doing all I can to keep it going. I'm trying to take care of myself as much as I can, making sure I don't burn out, and I'm excited to see what I make in the coming months. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I would love to know, again, if you say yourself any art goals, kind of how you feel like you're doing. Please remember that whichever point you're at in your art journey, you're valid, your art is valid. I just think it's a really good reminder that we don't hear enough. But ending on that note, I hope that you have a lovely week. I would love to chat with you in the comments, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!